Okay, welcome again, everybody. This is another little chat I'm having with my daughter Remy. As you would all remember, we did that fabulous video the other week, which was about Filipino street food. Then I remembered we had talked before and talked about just some of the peculiarities of regular diet and the regular things that people here eat just at home. That sound fairly right, Remy?
Yes.
Yes, she's a girl of many words today. So tell us some of the odd things, because Remy, as you probably know, grew up here and spent more time eating Filipino food than me. She's also a fan of it. I'm a fan of Filipino people. Food, well, let's just say I'm not here for the food. So tell us some interesting and unique things about the Filipino cuisine, Filipino diet.
Well, as you know, a lot of people here eat rice.
A lot of people, or just about everybody?
Just about everybody. They eat rice for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Every meal.
Yes, it seems to be that a meal is rice and something, and if you don't have any and something, it's rice. But the rice is the one thing that you couldn't possibly dispense with. Must be.
Yes. And you know, my grandmother used to tell me when I was eating lunch and I didn't have any rice with my chicken, and then she told me I needed to eat rice. She said I needed to stay healthy, so I needed to eat rice.
Yes, I remember something with a previous relationship, which who was most definitely, of substandard compared to my lovely wife, of course. But she had a child, and I mentioned that in Australia that she wouldn't be eating rice 3 times a day, and she just about fell over and said, but she needs her rice, and Filipino children are different, they must have rice. I said, no, actually they're not, but yes, that seems to be the thing. And you have a lovely chubby little daughter who's about to turn 2. How much of a fan of rice is she?
Not a big fan at all.
No, and her great-grandmother is not very impressed at all at the fact that the poor child isn't eating rice. So I think there's one person in the Philippines who doesn't eat rice, who happens to be my granddaughter.
Yeah, I try giving her rice, but she just refuses to eat it. She'll throw it off the table or something.
Yeah, and things need to be combined with rice. Like in Australia, you'll, if you've got rice there, you'll eat your meat, you'll then eat your vegetables, you'll then eat your rice. But here it needs to be a combination of all things on the spoon.
With rice?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sure, I mean, you could eat a piece of chicken, but if you had chicken and rice, you've got to have a bit of chicken with some rice on the spoon. I've even seen people eating KFC with a fork and a spoon.
Yes, of course they do.
Yeah, so it's a little odd. And of course there's the fork and the spoon and eating with fingers. There's a lack of knives here when it comes to meals.
Yes, eating with a fork and spoon. I remember getting used to having a fork and a knife in Australia, and when I came back here to the Philippines, it was hard getting used to eating with a spoon and fork. I had to cut the meat or chicken with the spoon and fork, because restaurants here they don't give you a knife unless you ask them for one.
Yeah. Again, it's just one of those peculiarities. But then I guess I grew up where everything that was on your plate was something that needed to be carved up. You couldn't have done it otherwise. But if it's pre-chopped before it's cooked, like most things are, you don't really need to dismember anything or cut it into smaller pieces. So, it's fairly logical. Spoons are a logical thing. I don't get chopsticks. I don't know. I always wonder who came up with the first chopsticks and why everybody else agreed with him that this was a fantastic idea to go, let's eat with a couple of sticks. Great idea. Let's tell the neighbours. Somehow it took off. But never been chopsticks here. Unlike most Asian countries, there were chopsticks, but fortunately none of the wretched things here. It's either fork or spoon, or it's
your hand.
Yes, using the hand. India's like that. They don't eat utensils. Use eat utensils. Try again. They don't eat with utensils. It's always always with the hand. Fairly logical. One of the things is you don't burn your mouth with something that's extremely hot if you've picked it up with your fingers, because you will have noticed.
Yes.
So I find it a little funny is that sort of clattering sound that goes on when Filipino people eat. It's always like they're drumming with the spoon and the fork on the plate. Do you even notice that, or is it just me?
No, I didn't even notice that. I'm too busy eating. I don't notice the sounds.
Yeah. Remy's a bit of a fan of eating. Always has been, even as a small child. Had a tremendous appetite.
When I'm eating, I don't look at the other person next to me and sort of observe what they're doing. It's me and my food.
Yeah, I suppose it's a bit like eating with the mouth open. It doesn't bother me as much as it used to, but we were taught, elbows in, meal time had to be a very silent time. What about the foot on the chair and the elbow resting on the knee? That seems to be a fairly normal thing here.
Of course it is. Everyone does that, even the kids. I mean, they see their parents doing it, so they grow up doing it.
Yeah, my goodness, we would have been smacked for doing such a thing. Elbows off the table and wrists resting and.
And they don't. Not every Filipino eats on the table. I mean, some of them will eat while watching TV in the living room. With both legs up.
Yeah. There's no such thing as actual table manners, but then. Table manners are a bit of a silly thing anyway. Back to some of the... yes, I'm just looking at your notes here. You explained about burnt rice. I never quite got that one.
Yes. What they do is they get the burnt rice, so the leftover from the rice cooker or whatever you cook it with.
Yeah.
And they add a little bit of water, the burnt rice, and a little bit of salt. And that's it.
And you said that people tend to squabble and fight over who gets that.
Oh yeah, because in one family there'd be 3 people who loves that. So and you can't. It's not a lot. It's not a lot of rice because it's the last bit. I mean, it's just a little bit. So people fight over it. Siblings.
Yeah, I never would have thought of that as being a tasty treat, but apparently it's a bit popular.
Oh yeah.
What about the fish? The fish head. Your mum seems to be a big fan of fish heads. Are you a fan of fish heads?
I am.
Right. Yeah, I sort of got a bit of a shock the first time I saw somebody do this. It seems to be like, oh, good, I've got the head. I mean, fish in Australia, of course, you expect it to be nicely filleted. You get offended if there's a bone in there, but there's always bones there, and people seem to be able to cough them up and get them out of the back of their throat when they're stuck there. And
when we have fried fish, I always tell them to leave the head for me.
Yeah, but you were a sucker of brains and eyes.
Oh no, I don't do that.
Oh, no, your mother does.
I mean, if I'm going to eat with a bunch of Filipinos who like to eat fried fish, I mean, I'm going to eat it the way, I'm comfortable eating it. But if I'm going to be sitting with you or with people who don't particularly like eating fish. Well,
but I've never seen you suck the eyes out of a fish head before. Do you do that?
Because I'm not going to do it in front of you, Dad.
Oh, I see. So that's a secret little pleasure. Ooh, nobody's looking. I think I'm going to slurp the eyes and brain out of this.
No, I don't like the eyes. I think that's too much. It's why would you?
Yeah, Mother likes.
No, I like
doing
the
that.
part. There is. The part of the head, I mean, it's really soft and juicy, but not the eyes or the brain, just the meat.
Mother likes those bits, yeah. Yeah, the sort of thing you'd have trouble feeding to a cat in Australia. I think the cat would go, oh, what do you think of me? I'm not eating that. Actually, I heard of a Filipino who, the husband went to the fish tackle shop and bought these tiny little fish to use as bait and put them in the freezer, and his Filipino wife cooked them.
What did he say?
I just remember that. He got a bit of a shock. He wasn't thinking anybody would regard that as being something to eat. So, less time spent on fish.
That's funny.
Oh, yeah, it is, definitely. Because there's no such thing as being, you can't possibly catch that. It's way too small. No, not at all.
And also coffee with rice.
Yeah, you told me about that one. It seemed to be a little weird. Is there like a ritual with that?
Oh, it's usually for breakfast. They have eggs and rice, and then they put coffee on the rice, like it's sort of like a little soup for them.
Coffee soup.
Yes.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah. People regard that as being a culinary.
Or dried fish with coffee and rice.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. There's nothing quite like the good old dried fish. I saw a video once which showed how they dry this on the side of the road, and they zoomed in, and you could see there was more flies than fish. So, oh goodness, geez, we could do a whole thing on fish, but I'm not quite sure I could get to the end of it.
We should talk about the lack of veggies, Dad.
Lack of veggies, yes. I remember a 9-year-old girl who came to Australia and told me, I don't eat vegetables. And which I looked at her and said, well, guess what? We've got a rule here, if it's on your plate, you eat it. And
it took me a while getting used to eating veggies, yes.
Oh, yeah, but I remember her looking at me when I said that, and there was a very quick, clear understanding, I'll lose this fight. So, she rapidly gained a love of vegetables.
Yes. Now I really like eating veggies. Not the Filipino way.
No, just
all the veggies
steamed
here.
vegetables, carrots
fried
and peas.
In oil. I mean, here, that's what they do with veggies. Boiling it is weird for them.
Yeah, I must say, they'll boiled or steamed veggies with a bit of butter, wonderful. But not particularly Filipino. But it just seems to be. You can go to a restaurant and you order something and you realise there were no vegetables there. And we've had a lot of kids come here, and most of them not accustomed to eating vegetables at all, and they've learnt very quickly that they're going to eat vegetables, and yes, they grow strong and healthy very, very quickly on a healthy diet. But no, restaurants won't supply it to you unless you actually ask. It's not part of the meal. So yes, eat your veggies, people. What else? I told you one you didn't know about, the pancit canton or pancit bihon for people's birthdays.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that it had some meaning.
Yes, it's to do with the long noodles. Apparently long noodles mean long life. I'm just assuming that's probably some odd Chinese thing that came here and tended to stick. But yes, invariably birthday parties will have pancit canton, which is, it's not so bad. It's a rice-based noodles with veggies and meat and stuff. Yeah, not too bad. But
Palabok.
What's that?
We talked about that.
Oh, that's that stuff that smells bad. What on earth is it?
I'm not actually quite sure.
Yes, I just remember us having a party down at the office once, and somebody went and purchased this. We got in the car, and they put the tray of this stuff in the back of the car, and I just said, please remove that. I think I would have died by the time we got to the office from the smell of it. It just didn't smell fresh, whatever it was. So you got no idea what's in it?
Oh, a little bit of, a bit of prawns, egg.
It's a noodle thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a noodle thing, but they put like this, I don't know what it is, but it's yellow. Yellowy, I think it's seafood something.
Yeah, just that's particular time it just didn't seem to be the freshest. And then of course there's the little Western edition here, which is the love of spaghetti.
Yes, so many people love spaghetti here. I don't like it. I never have. Even when I was little, every party I went to, I wouldn't e't spaghetti.
Yes,
it's too sweet.
Yes, this is the thing. I used to work in Leichhardt in Sydney years ago, and which was Little Italy. I assume it probably still is, and learned the absolute wonders of Italian food and pasta, but nothing was ever sugary. You certainly wouldn't have spaghetti with a sugary tomato sauce, and you certainly wouldn't have the chopped up hot dogs.
Yes. they put hot dogs and spaghetti here. I don't understand why, but it's a thing.
Yes, people are fond of hot dogs here, but I mean Jollibee sell the stuff. I think McDonald's, do they have a spaghetti there? A McSpaghetti? They probably do.
I think so, but I don't like spaghetti. That's why I've never ordered it. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's sweet or if it's...
Oh, it would be. I don't think anybody would cope with spaghetti here if it wasn't. But yeah, sweet spaghetti. Yes, you were mentioning yes, the social habits of Filipinos eating and drinking together.
Yes, eating off the same plate, drinking, from the same glass, practically sharing everything.
Yeah, which just point out that, I mean, it's a lovely social idea, but hepatitis B is quite rampant here, and the idea of sharing saliva with a bunch of strangers, it's not a
even if
great
it's
thing to do.
even if it's one of your closest friends. I mean, you really don't know what they have, and they might not know what they have. I mean, people don't go to the doctor very often here. They don't do the usual checkups. If they're sick, if they have a cold, they just leave it.
Yeah, I've always told the kids here at school that not to ever share drinking containers and things, because it's quite common. If you're drinking a soft drink, one of your friends will say, "Oh, can I have a bit of that?" "Sure." Have a drink out of the bottle and then back again. I've told them not to, and I hope they're listening. But yes, it's a little. I don't know. I mean, I love the social idea of it, but if it was just that little bit more hygienic. But yes, food is something that is shared here. The let's eat. That was one I always found a little odd.
Yes, everybody here, if someone's eating, they will always ask you if you want to eat.
Yeah, which is nice, and I can understand it. It's I actually find the Australian way a little bit odd. The fact that somebody could sit down next to somebody, get out their lunch and start eating it without saying a word. A Filipino would never do that, but
They would not.
No, but I guess it's just that I understand it, but I guess the first any time I hear it now, I'm sitting there and somebody, even somebody who works for us, I'll go and have lunch. They'll see me, they'll stick their head around the corner and say, "Let's eat," and I don't know how to respond. I don't know whether to say, Audie, or no, I'm okay, thanks. I don't like the look of what you're eating, or
No, you
I've
probably
already
shouldn't say that.
eaten, or
You
something.
probably should just say you've eaten, not I don't like the look of what you're eating.
Yeah, no, it's probably polite to say I've already eaten, but I guess whenever it happens, I'm not quite expecting it, so I'm not prepared. But look, it is a nice thing. You with anybody here, they're eating something, and if I say, "Oh, what are you eating?" Within a fraction of a second, they're offering it to me. They're wanting to hand it over to me, or something, which people don't get possessive when it comes to food, and even if that's all they have, they will give it away. So, I mean, it's a very nice thing. It's just that let's eat thing. I never quite get. People come to the door. I know even if Mormons or Jehovah's Witnesses come and knock on somebody's door, even if they've got no intention to convert, or they don't actually want to listen to them at all, to send them away and not invite them in and sit them down and give them drinks and snacks is considered to be very rude. So, they tend to get invited in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have come across that, no doubt.
Yeah, when I was little, but now I don't really remember.
Where we are, we don't get visitors like that.
Oh no, they can't enter.
No, exactly right. Yeah. You've got a lovely thing here. I'm looking at your notes.
Oh, the Chomper with salty dried fish.
Yes,
that is delicious.
Yeah, Chomperado, to those who don't know this delightful thing, it is rice with chocolate, like cocoa or cocoa, as they'd call it here, but it's actually like drinking chocolate with rice.
It's not that sweet, though.
So
it has this sort of, this dark chocolatey sort of taste.
Oh, it's more of a dark. Oh, okay.
Yes.
But I still remember when somebody said, "Oh, I love it with dried fish." And I'm going, "What? You just, please." I don't know. I just can't imagine.
Oh, not a lot of Filipinos.
Chalky and dried fish. But
not a lot of Filipinos eat it.
But you're a fan.
There are Filipinos who do eat it.
And you're a fan.
It wouldn't be something I would eat every day. It would be something,
Well, I'm glad. I don't
something like maybe once every few months. It would be nice.
Yeah, it just seems like an odd combination. But yes, and the combination of I don't know, sweet things and salty things. We've already covered bagaong with salt, or sorry, bagaong with green mangoes.
Yeah.
So we won't go on to that one again. But what was it? Yes, the thing with cheese here, I find it a little odd.
Yes, cheese with, ice cream cheese. I didn't know it was a weird thing. I mean, when I was little, I loved eating, those ice cream cheese.
Yeah, I've sort of got used to it. I can have cheese and ice cream and I'm no longer shocked by it, but the first time I heard of it, it was very odd. But, cheese with ice cream, cheese with halo, any sort of desserts, even, slices of cheese with a fruit salad or something, odd. But, in cakes, having cheese with a cake. In Australia, it's always a savoury thing.
I've never actually encountered one.
Well, sometimes there's just grated cheese on top of the cake.
Oh, you mean that?
Yeah, that type of thing, yeah, which...
oh, yeah. But the cheese is sort of sweet. It's not, how we have cheese.
It's not a nice, tangy blue cheese or anything like that.
No, it's sweet cheese.
Yeah.
And they put sugar in it as well.
Yes, and the other thing was the fine line between what's bread and what's a cake here was a little odd. As in Australia, bread is bread and it's never sweet. Cakes are sweet, whereas here, the cakes never seem to be sweet enough and the bread is sugary tasting, and I find that odd.
Yeah, because the bread, it's a typical Filipino thing to have bread for breakfast. It's either bread or rice with something. They have sweet bread, plain bread, they mix, bread with veggies. I'm not kidding. Yeah, they have that for breakfast, and it's a treat. Coffee, like sweet sugary bread with coffee. A lot of old people actually like that.
Yeah, I don't mind some of those bready, cakey types of things.
My grandparents love them.
So it's a granny. I'm getting older and older all the time, so I suppose
that's probably why.
I'm probably heading that way. I'll be telling people.
Drinking with your coffee.
I'll be telling people to get off my lawn next, or saying back in my day, or back in that was almost $2 in the old money. But I suppose I can't really if I want bread to have with cheese or a sandwich or something, I just don't like it tasting like a cake. I find that a little odd.
Yeah, if you go to the store and buy sliced bread, it's sort of sweet, isn't it?
It's sweet, and they're tiny little pieces too.
Yeah,
they make the world's smallest sandwich with these little squares that are probably, I don't know, probably 4 inches across or 5 inches across. They're a little odd.
A few bites.
Yes, inches. Back in the old measurements, don't you know? What else do we have here?
Soft drinks from plastic, drinking soft drinks from plastics, and also, those ice too big. They call them ice too big. When I was in school, they cost, 1 peso, but now I think they might be 2 or 3 or maybe 4.
Yeah, but we're talking about by a plastic. A plastic here is a plastic bag. So, the people will say, we want that. You want that in a plastic. Yeah, so that means a plastic bag. It wasn't that long ago you couldn't get plastic soft drink bottles, so the shop wanted to hang on to the bottle, so the usual thing was to, tip the Coke into a plastic bag and stick a straw with it and send you on your way. And yes, drinks of water, and I've seen people get those, the bag of water, and sort of bite it
at the end.
excuse me, bite it, and then just on the corner or on the end somehow, and then just drink from that. It's I suppose it's all perfectly logical, but yes, that exists. What else do we have here? Oh, I taught you something about ketchup. Referred to as ketchup here, or catsup. I don't know what the difference between ketchup and catsup is, but it seems to be sometimes the bottles are labelled that. But Remy didn't know that it's not made tomato here. It's made from bananas. I don't know how. It's red and it looks like tomato sauce, but
I really didn't know that.
Just a bit of a hint. If you actually look at the labels, it says banana ketchup. But anyway, as you were saying,
well, it's red.
Yes, I suppose logical enough. But anyway, yeah, it's made from bananas. I couldn't tell you whether it's good, bad, or indifferent because I've never been a tomato sauce fan.
It should be yellow.
Well, if it was banana sauce, but it would probably look a bit gross. But
they could just think it's mustard, but it's sweet mustard or something.
True, I would get confused. Yes, anyway, that's gross stuff. What else do we have?
Oh, every Filipino mother in this country, if you have guests over, all the food has to be ready on the table before the guests arrive.
Yes, I'm married to a Filipino mother, so yeah, I know how it works. It's guests are coming and they're going to be late, but let's make sure the food's ready early. So
exactly,
the food could be. I remember in Australia we had to buy a new table. Literally, I'm not kidding, because there would be no room for anything other than food on the table. So we needed a bigger table to cope with the quantity of food, because it's always massive amounts. But yes, it always seems to have to be on display, and
people would think you were rude if you invited them over and the food wasn't ready when they arrived.
Yes, whereas in Australia it's perfectly okay that mum's in the kitchen, or whoever's in the kitchen doing the cooking, and that way you get it nice and hot and fresh. And it hasn't. I remember in horror seeing a pile of rib fillet steaks cooked and sitting on a plate for 4 hours at a party, and I politely said, please don't do that again. That's not the way to serve steaks. But live and learn. All right, look, I think that's probably covered quite a few fascinating things, wouldn't you think?
Well, there's one more.
But wait, there's more. Okay.
Yes, I think it's basically during Christmas time they have. I've always wondered why we had so much fruit on the table. Even with Mum, we still do that. She makes sure that there's a lot of fruit on the table, because I think if the more fruit we have, the more blessings will come the following year. Everyone believes that. Everyone in every part of this country.
Yes, I'd never realised that particular one, but yes, it's nice to have fresh fruit, and this is a wonderful country for fruit. And who knows? I think us as a Harvie family,
it won't hurt, right?
It certainly won't hurt, and I think we're a pretty blessed bunch. So maybe the fruit has something to do with it.
Maybe we should thank Mum.
Absolutely. All right, yes, we always must remember to thank Mum. She's a good woman. Okay, well, thank you for that, Remy. That's been informative and entertaining as always.
Bye, guys.